The wind was cold that evening. Dark clouds covered the twin moons as Daniel walked along the edge of the colony's outer fence. His flashlight cut through the shadows, sweeping left and right. Every evening after his shift as an engineer, he liked to walk here. It was peaceful, but tonight felt different. A strange noise made him stop. At first he thought it was the wind, but then he heard it again, a soft, weak sound like someone breathing heavily or crying. His heart started beating faster. This area was supposed to be empty. Slowly, Daniel moved toward the sound. As he got closer, he noticed something small near a pile of rocks. He aimed his flashlight carefully. There, curled up on the ground, was a figure. It was not human. The being was thin, shaking, and wearing nothing to protect itself from the cold. Its skin was pale bluish-purple, and it had small, delicate ears shaped like tiny leaves. The creature's silver hair was messy, and dirt covered her face. She looked up at him with wide, scared eyes. Her lips trembled, and her breathing was shallow. Daniel immediately knew who she was, a Varellan. He had heard the news. The Varellan species had suffered after their homeworld was destroyed during one of the recent galactic wars. Many survivors were captured by slavers and smugglers, sold across the galaxy like property. But what was one doing here? Alone, barely alive? The girl tried to push herself back as Daniel approached, but she was too weak. Her entire body shook from cold and fear. Daniel stopped a few steps away and raised both hands slowly to show he meant no harm. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." Her lips moved, but no words came out. She looked ready to collapse. Without thinking, Daniel took off his jacket and slowly moved closer. "You're freezing," he said. "Please take this, I'll help you." She hesitated, but then her shaking hands reached for the jacket. She pulled it tightly around her thin body, breathing heavily as the warmth returned to her skin. Daniel could see tears in her eyes. "What's your name?" he asked gently. After a long pause, she whispered, "Leora." Her voice was soft, almost like a breeze. Daniel could see the fear behind her eyes, but also the trust beginning to form. "My name is Daniel," he replied. "You're safe now." Leora looked around nervously. The woods were dark and dangerous creatures roamed at night. She was clearly running from something or someone. Daniel glanced toward the colony lights in the distance. If anyone saw her, there would be trouble. The local authorities didn't allow alien refugees without proper papers. Many were sent back to face slavery or worse. "You can't stay out here," Daniel said. "Come with me. I'll give you food and a warm place to rest." Leora's eyes widened, unsure if she should trust him, but her body was too weak to argue. Slowly she nodded. Daniel gently helped her stand. She leaned heavily on him, barely able to walk. Together they made their way through a hidden path behind the trees, avoiding the main roads. His small cabin was not far. He lived there alone, away from the main settlement, which made it safer for her. As they walked, Daniel asked softly, "How did you get here?" "I escaped," Leora whispered. "Slavers. They killed many. I ran for days, hid in the forest. Number. Food, no hope." Her voice broke. She had tears again, but Daniel gave her hand a comforting squeeze. "You're safe now," he said again. "I promise." When they finally reached his cabin, Daniel carefully opened the door and helped her inside. The small home was simple but warm. A fire crackled softly in the corner, and the smell of fresh bread filled the air. Daniel brought a blanket and wrapped it around her. Then he gave her a cup of warm tea. Leora took it with both hands, sipping slowly. Her color slowly started to return. "Thank you," she said softly, barely able to believe someone was helping her. "You don't have to thank me," Daniel replied with a smile. "No one deserves to be left out there alone." For the first time, a faint smile appeared on Leora's face. It was small, but real. Daniel watched her carefully. She had nothing, no home, no family, no clothes, no hope. But now, at least for tonight, she had safety, and in that quiet moment, Daniel knew he would not let anyone take that away from her. The soft glow of the fire lit the small cabin's walls as Daniel sat across from Leora. She still looked weak. and tired, but the warm tea had helped. She held the cup with both hands, her fingers trembling slightly. Daniel watched her quietly for a moment, then broke the silence. "You must be hungry. I'll prepare some food." Leora nodded slowly. Her eyes moved around the room, taking in the simple furniture, the tools Daniel used for his work, and the small stack of books on a shelf. Daniel stood up and moved to the small kitchen area. He heated some bread and soup that he had saved for his dinner. The smell of warm food filled the cabin. "Here," Daniel said gently, handing her a bowl of hot soup and a piece of bread. "Eat as much as you want." Leora's eyes widened in surprise. "Thank you," she whispered. She ate slowly, savoring each bite. Daniel smiled to himself, glad to see her regain some strength. After a while, Leora looked up and spoke softly. "Why do you help me? Most humans, they ignore or fear Varellans." Daniel shrugged. "Maybe because I know what it's like to feel alone, or maybe because it's the right thing to do." Leora's eyes held a mix of sadness and hope. "My people, we were peaceful, we never wanted to fight. But the war came, our world was destroyed, many of us were taken. Sold as slaves." She paused, swallowing hard. "I escaped, but I have nowhere to go." Daniel's heart tightened. He had heard many stories about the horrors of war, but hearing it from someone who lived it made it real. "I will not let you be taken again," Daniel promised. "You can stay here as long as you need." Leora looked at him with disbelief. "But what if they find me?" "The slavers, the hunters?" Daniel nodded. "I know, that's why we must be careful. The colony leaders don't want alien refugees. Here, they see them as threats." Leora's gaze fell to the floor. "I don't want to cause trouble." "You won't," Daniel said firmly. "I'll keep you safe. And I'll ask some friends who understand. They can help us." Leora's lips curved into a small smile. The first real smile Daniel had seen from her. Days passed slowly, but Daniel and Leora settled into a quiet routine. Daniel taught her simple human words and customs. Leora shared stories of her world, beautiful forests, tall silver trees, and cities that floated above the ground. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Leora reached out and touched Daniel's hand lightly. "Thank you for saving me." Daniel squeezed her hand gently. "You don't have to thank me again." But trust was still fragile. Leora often looked worried, glancing at every noise outside, fearing someone might come for her. Daniel understood. He too felt the weight of danger around them. One day, Daniel took a risk. He brought Leora some clothes, a warm jacket, pants, and boots from his own collection. They were simple but clean. Leora's eyes filled with tears when she saw them. "I never had clothes like this," she said softly. "Only tattered rags." Daniel helped her dress. Seeing her wrapped in the warm fabrics made Daniel feel hopeful. She looked stronger, more like someone who belonged here, but their peace was short-lived. One afternoon, while Daniel was working on his tools outside, a group of colony guards arrived at his cabin. They demanded to see the owner inside. Daniel's heart pounded. He knew why they had come. The rumors of an escaped alien had spread, and now the authorities wanted to find her. Leora hid in the back room, trembling. Daniel stepped outside to meet the guards. "Can I help you?" "We have orders to search your property for an illegal alien," the lead guard said coldly. Daniel's voice was steady. "I'm sorry, but there is no one here who breaks the law." The guards ignored him and started looking around. Daniel's mind raced. He couldn't let them find Lior. Suddenly, one of the guards opened the back door. "What's that?" he called out. Leora's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to run, but was too weak. Daniel stepped forward quickly. "Please, wait." "There's nothing here." The guards hesitated, but then moved in. Just before they could enter the room, Daniel grabbed their arms and spoke firmly. "If you want to arrest someone, you have to go through me first." The lead guard frowned. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." Daniel held his ground. "I'm not afraid, neither is she." The tension grew. Daniel's friends, whom he had quietly informed earlier, arrived in the distance. They had heard about the search and came to help. The guards looked at the approaching group and decided to retreat. warning Daniel to cooperate or face consequences. As the guards left, Daniel quickly closed the door behind them and turned to Liora. She was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Daniel wrapped his arms around her gently. It's okay now. They're gone. Liora buried her face in his chest. For the first time, she let her walls fall down. I'm scared, she whispered. Daniel stroked her hair softly. I know, but you don't have to be afraid here, not with me. That night, as the stars shone brightly above, Daniel and Liora sat together, the silence filled with hope and a promise. The days passed quietly at first. Daniel and Liora worked together to rebuild a small life in the hidden cabin. Liora learned more about humans and their ways. She practiced speaking and started to smile more often. Daniel showed her how to fix machines and use simple tools. Slowly she grew stronger, but the peace would not last. One morning, as Daniel checked the colony's news reports on his small tablet, he saw a headline that made his heart sink. Alien refugee escape sparks colony alert authorities searching. Nearby wood? The article told of an escaped Varellan spotted near the forest. It warned citizens to report any suspicious sightings. The colony leaders were tightening security. Daniel looked at Liora, who was quietly folding clothes. Her eyes met his, wide with worry. They will come, she whispered. Daniel nodded. I know, we need a plan. That night they sat by the fire, whispering. Liora explained more about the slavers who hunted her people. They have machines that find us, track us from far away, she said. If they catch me, they will sell me. I don't want to go back. Daniel thought hard. I can't fight them alone. But I have friends, people who believe in helping those in need. Liora's face showed hope again. Over the next days, Daniel secretly contacted some trusted friends, others who had helped alien refugees before. They were careful, meeting in quiet places, far from watchful eyes. Together, they planned a way to move Liora to a safer location. It was risky, but staying at the cabin was no longer safe. One afternoon, as Daniel and Liora prepared to leave, a strange sound came from the edge of the forest, a low hum like a scanning device. Liora froze, her body tense. They are here, she said softly. Daniel grabbed her hand. We have to move, now. They hurried through a hidden path behind the trees, avoiding the main roads. The forest was dense and dark, but Daniel knew it well. They reached a small clearing where Daniel's friends waited with a fast ship. Liora looked around nervously. Will this keep me safe? Daniel smiled gently. As safe as we can make it. The group boarded the ship, and it lifted quickly into the sky. But danger was close behind. Far below, in the colony, a figure watched the ship's rise. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a cold smile. Corvin, the bounty hunter, had arrived. Corvin was known across the galaxy as one of the best trackers. He had been hired by the slavers to find any escaped Varellans and bring them back dead or alive. Corvin's scanner beeped, locking onto the small ship's energy signature. Not so fast, he said, his voice low and hard. You won't. Get away. He climbed into his own sleek hovercraft and sped after them. Inside the ship, Daniel noticed the sudden shift in energy. His friends' faces grew serious. They worked quickly to change course, trying to lose any pursuers. Liora clutched Daniel's hand. Will they catch us? Daniel looked into her frightened eyes. I won't let that happen. The ship darted through clouds, weaving between mountains and thick forests. But Corvin's skills were unmatched. He closed the distance. Suddenly, alarms sounded on the ship. They're locking onto us. One of Daniel's friends shouted. Daniel's heart raced. He turned to Liora. Hold on tight. Corvin's hovercraft fired a warning shot nearby. The ship shook but stayed steady. We can't keep running, Daniel said. We have to fight. Leora's eyes widened. I don't want to fight, Daniel smiled gently. You don't have to, but I do. The ship landed in a hidden valley surrounded by thick trees. Daniel and his friends prepared for the coming battle. Corvin landed nearby, stepping out with a weapon in hand. I'm taking the alien, Corvin said coldly. Hand her over, human, and no one gets hurt. Daniel stood tall. I won't let you take her, Corvin laughed. You don't have a choice. Leora watched as Daniel faced Corvin. She felt fear, but also a strange new feeling hope. Daniel's courage was a shield, stronger than any weapon. Corvin lunged forward, and Daniel dodged quickly. The fight was tense, with Corvin's advanced gear and speed matched against Daniel's quick thinking and knowledge of the terrain. Suddenly, Leora stepped forward. She focused her mind, her eyes glowing softly. Using a power from her people's short burst of telepathic energy, she sent a wave of confusion to Corvin. Corvin staggered. Surprised and disoriented, Daniel took the chance. He moved swiftly, knocking Corvin's weapon aside and pinning him down. "Give up," Daniel said firmly. Corvin snarled but knew he was beaten. With Corvin tied up, Daniel turned to Leora. "Are you okay?" he asked. Leora nodded, tears in her eyes. "Thanks to you," Daniel smiled. "We are stronger together." The valley was quiet after the fight. Daniel and Leora sat beside the small campfire, catching their breath. Corvin, the bounty hunter, was tied up with strong ropes. His cold eyes watched them with anger, but he said nothing. Leora looked at Daniel with a mixture of fear and curiosity. "Who is he?" she asked softly. Daniel sighed. "Corvin is a hunter. He works for the slavers who want to capture you. He is dangerous and will stop at nothing to get what he wants." Leora shivered. "Why would anyone want to hurt my people? We only wanted peace." Daniel looked at the stars above. "Some want power and money. They don't care about peace or kindness." Leora's small hands clenched the blanket she wore. "I don't want to be a prisoner again." "You won't be," Daniel promised. "I will protect you." The next morning, Daniel and his friends talked quietly about what to do next. Corvin was a skilled tracker and fighter. He might escape. Or call for help. One of Daniel's friends, Maya, suggested. "We should take him to the colony authorities." "Let them deal with him," Daniel nodded. "But the colony leaders don't trust us. They might let him go," Maya frowned. "Then we keep watch. We make sure he can't hurt anyone." Leora listened silently, feeling both scared and hopeful. She had never felt cared for like this before. That night, as Daniel kept watch near the fire, Leora stayed inside the small shelter. Suddenly a noise came from outside, a rustling sound in the trees. Leora's heart jumped. She stood quietly, listening. The sound grew louder. Daniel quickly grabbed his flashlight and moved toward the noise. Leora followed, her steps soft on. The ground suddenly, a shadow moved between the trees, a figure in dark armor. It was Corvin. Somehow he had freed himself. Daniel shouted, "Corvin, stop!" Corvin's eyes burned with rage. "You won't stop me." He pulled a small device from his belt, aiming it at Daniel. Leora's mind raced. She remembered the power. Her people used the telepathic bursts that had helped before. She closed her eyes and focused. A wave of mental energy rushed toward Corvin. His hand trembled, and the device dropped to the ground. Daniel charged forward and tackled Corvin to the ground. The fight was quick but fierce. This time, they tied Corvin even tighter. After the struggle, Daniel turned to Leora. "You're stronger than you think." Leora smiled faintly. "Only because you believe in me." They returned to the campfire. Daniel's friends watched carefully, ready for anything. The next days were tense. Corvin was trapped, but the danger was not gone. Daniel and Leora knew they had to move again. Staying in one place was too risky. Maya found a secret ship hidden in an old hangar. It was small but fast, a perfect chance to escape. Daniel helped Leora aboard. She looked back at the camp with a heavy heart. "I will miss this place," she said softly. Daniel smiled. "It's just the beginning." As the ship lifted off, Daniel looked at Leora. "Where to next?" Leora took a deep breath. "Anywhere. Safe, anywhere we can live free." Daniel nodded. "We'll find it together." The small ship moved fast through the dark skies of the remote planet. Daniel and Leora sat together in the cabin, both tired but alert. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant, but inside, a warm light filled the space between them. Leora looked at Daniel with quiet worry. "Do you think Corvin will come after us again?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, he is stubborn and dangerous, but we are ready." Daniel's friends, Maya and Rian, prepared the ship's defenses. They were ready for whatever would come next. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared loud. A red light flashed. "Incoming attack!" Maya shouted. Daniel and Leora rushed to the window. A dark, fast hovercraft was closing in. Colvin was back, leading a small team of mercenaries. "Hold on," Daniel said. The ship shook as weapons fired from outside. Daniel took control, steering the ship through a narrow canyon. The walls were steep and the path was tight. Kovan's craft followed closely, firing again and again. Leora grabbed Daniel's arm. "This is bad," Daniel focused. "We have to lose them." "Follow me." He flew the ship deeper into the canyon. The enemy struggled to keep up. Suddenly, Daniel turned sharply and stopped near a waterfall. The ship hovered just behind the falling water, hiding in the mist. Corvin's team slowed down, searching for the hidden ship. The roar of the waterfall covered all other sounds. Daniel looked at Leora. "Stay here. Be ready." He and Maya prepared. A trap outside, using the ship's tools and weapons. Corvin's team moved cautiously toward the waterfall, looking for signs of the hidden ship. Daniel and Maya waited quietly. When the enemy got close, Daniel triggered a loud noise and bright lights. The mercenaries jumped in surprise. Daniel and Maya attacked with stun weapons, quickly disabling two of the men. Corvin fired back but was slowed by the confusion. Then Leora stepped forward. Her eyes glowed softly as she used her telepathic power again. A wave of mental energy hit Corvin, making him stumble. Daniel seized the moment. He charged forward and tackled Corvin to the ground. The fight was fierce. Corvin was strong and skilled, but Daniel had something Corvin did not. Heart. Daniel dodged Corvin's blows and delivered a strong hit, knocking Corvin down. Corvin gasped for breath. Daniel pinned him and said firmly, "This ends now." Corvin glared but stopped fighting. The team tied Corvin tightly. Daniel looked at him with steady eyes. "Why do you do this?" "Why hunt her?" Daniel asked. Corvin spat. "It's my job." "Slavers pay well." Daniel shook his head. "People are not things." "They don't belong to anyone." Leora stepped closer. "You will never control me or my people." Corvin's eyes burned with anger, but also fear. Daniel turned to his friends. "We need to take Corvin somewhere safe, somewhere he can't hurt anyone." Maya nodded. "I know a place where he can be held." The ship lifted off again, heading to a hidden human outpost. The journey was long and quiet. Leora sat beside Daniel. "Thank you," she said softly, "for believing in me, for fighting for me." Daniel smiled. "You don't have to thank me. We protect each other." Leora looked at him with new hope. "I want to help others like me, to make sure no one suffers like I did." Daniel's eyes shone. "We will, together." At the outpost, Corvin was handed over to the authorities. They promised to keep him locked away and stop his slaver work. Daniel and Leora watched from a distance, knowing they had won a big battle, but the galaxy was still full of dangers. Leora took Daniel's hand. "No matter what comes next, I want to stay with you." Daniel squeezed her hand gently. "Forever." The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if agreeing. The days that followed Corvin's capture were quiet, but full of change. Daniel and Leora stayed at the human outpost, a place safe from the dangers that had hunted her before. The outpost was small but warm, filled with people who believed in justice and kindness. Leora felt something she had not felt in a long time: hope. She spent her days learning about human life, culture, and their ways of friendship. Daniel stayed close, teaching her everything she wanted to know. He helped her build new skills and find confidence in herself. One afternoon, a group of officials arrived at the outpost. They wore clean uniforms and carried important papers. Daniel and Leora watched nervously as the leader of the group spoke with the outpost commander. After some time, the commander approached them with a smile. "Leora," he said kindly, "after reviewing your case, we have granted you temporary asylum on this colony. You will be protected from harm. You may stay and build a new life." Leora's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Daniel, who smiled warmly. "This is the start of something new," Daniel said softly. News of Leora's protection spread across the colony. Many people who once feared alien refugees began to see a different side. They saw a young woman who had suffered, who was kind and brave. Some humans stepped forward, offering help and support. They worked together to find and hide other Virellans who had escaped. Daniel and Leora became symbols of hope, proof that humans and aliens could live together in peace. But Leora never forgot the pain she had endured. She knew many others still needed help. One day, Daniel and Leora stood outside the outpost, watching the sunrise. The sky was painted with soft colors, warm and bright. Leora took Daniel's hand. "I want to help others like me," she said. "To build a future where no one fears," Daniel nodded. "We will do that, together." They began to organize secret missions to rescue Virellans still hiding or trapped in danger. Daniel used his knowledge of technology and Leora used her people's special skills. Their team grew stronger, united by a shared goal. Life was not easy. There were risks and many challenges. But every small victory gave them hope. Leora's courage inspired others. She told her story openly, showing that even in darkness, light could be found. The colony slowly changed. Walls built by fear began to fall. Bridges of friendship were built in their place. One evening, Daniel and Leora sat together under the stars. The air was cool, and the world felt calm. Leora leaned on Daniel's shoulder. "I never thought I would feel safe again." Daniel smiled, wrapping his arm around her. "You deserve safety. You deserve happiness." They stayed close, knowing that no matter what came next, they had found something rare: trust, friendship, and maybe even love. The colony had changed since Leora arrived. What once was fear and suspicion slowly turned into acceptance and hope. People saw her not as an alien to fear, but as a symbol of courage and new beginnings. Daniel and Leora stood on a quiet hill overlooking the settlement. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting soft light over the peaceful land. The air was fresh and cool, filled with the promise of tomorrow. Leora turned to Daniel, her eyes shining with emotion. "I never dreamed this day would come." Daniel smiled gently. "Neither did I, but here we are, together." She took his hand, feeling the warmth and strength in his touch. "You saved me when I had nothing. No home, no clothes, no hope. You showed me kindness." Daniel looked into her eyes. "You saved me too. You showed me what true bravery is." They stood close, their hearts beating in quiet rhythm. Around them, the world seemed still, waiting for the next step. Life was not perfect, but it was real. Together, they built a new home filled with laughter and trust. Leora learned to love the simple joys of human life: a warm meal, a gentle breeze, the touch of a hand. Daniel learned to see the universe through her eyes, the beauty of her people's culture, the strength hidden behind her gentle spirit. Every day, they worked to help others like Leora. Together, they created safe places where aliens and humans could live without fear. One evening, under the vast stars, Daniel turned to Leora with a smile. "Will you stay with me forever?" Leora's heart fluttered. She had waited for these words, yet they felt like a beautiful dream. She smiled back, her voice soft but sure. "Forever." They embraced, the quiet night wrapping around them like a gentle blanket. News of their bond spread across the colony, inspiring many. Their story was one of hope, of strength and kindness, and the power of trust. Leora and Daniel became more than just friends. They became family. Together they faced every challenge, every fear, and every new day. No longer alone, no longer afraid. They looked forward to the future, a future built on love and courage. As the twin moons slowly moved across the sky, Daniel and Leora sat hand in hand watching the stars. The galaxy was vast and sometimes dark, but they had found light in each other, and that light would never fade.